What if you could change so deeply that the people who once knew you would barely recognize the energy you carry now? For years, most of us focus on improvement, adding habits, beliefs, and new ways of thinking, trying to construct a better version of ourselves. But the truth about a higher vibration isn't found in becoming someone else. It's found in the courage to unbecome everything you were conditioned to be. This isn't a journey of accumulation. It's not about stacking more practices or identities on top of who you already are. It's a profound act of subtraction, the moment you stop chasing the energy you want and begin allowing it to rise naturally from within. I want to tell you a story that completely changed how I understand personal transformation. It wasn't just a clever insight or a new idea. It was a shift in perspective that rearranged everything I felt I knew about growth. Years ago, I felt trapped inside my own self-improvement patterns. I was always trying, always striving, always pushing toward some better future version of myself. Yet inside, I felt like I was going nowhere. The harder I worked, the more stuck I became. I searched everywhere for answers, convinced the solution had to be complicated. Then I met someone who shattered that assumption entirely. There was nothing flashy or impressive about him on the surface. He was simple, quiet, almost ordinary. And yet his presence was undeniable. A deep stillness seemed to radiate from him and fill the entire space around him with calm. Just being near him quieted my own anxious mind without any effort on my part. It was as if the noise inside me turned down on its own. His presence had that kind of power. It wasn't dramatic or performative, but it was absolutely real. It felt like a field of calm so tangible that you felt safe and seen without him even speaking a word. So I asked him what his method was. I expected a complex answer, some advanced meditation, a hidden mantra, or an ancient teaching. I was ready to add yet another tool to my self-improvement collection. Instead, he smiled and said something so simple it was almost hard to believe. He told me he had spent years sitting in meditation, doing almost nothing. His practice wasn't about becoming someone new or constructing a better self. It wasn't about manifesting a more successful identity or visualizing some ideal future. It was about being present, and above all, it was about letting go. His entire practice centered on releasing attachment. He would allow thoughts to arise and then let them pass without turning them into stories. He stopped clinging to his past, his personal narrative, and the identity he thought he needed to defend. He simply let each layer loosen, one by one. That explanation went against nearly everything I had ever learned. I had been taught that the path to more always ran through more doing, more effort, more discipline, more knowledge. But what he described suggested the opposite. The path to more is found through less. That was the moment everything clicked. His magnetic presence wasn't something he had constructed. It was what remained when everything unnecessary had been stripped away. He hadn't manufactured a high vibration. He had removed what was blocking it. He had unbecome the layers that obscured the consciousness already alive within him. He had stopped feeding what was false. And what remained was powerful, calm, and deeply attractive. This realization dismantled my entire understanding of growth. I had built my life on the assumption that progress meant adding more information, more tools, more control. But maybe the truth was the opposite. Maybe we already carry what we're looking for, buried under everything we've been conditioned to believe we are. We all carry a lifetime of conditioning, beliefs, stories, memories, and identities we mistake for our true self. They are heavy and expensive to maintain. It takes energy to defend your opinions. It takes energy to protect old wounds. It takes energy to uphold a personal story that constantly demands reinforcement. Most people don't realize how exhausting this inner maintenance really is. The man I met was free because he had stopped doing all of that. His energy was no longer being drained by constant internal noise. His presence was the result of subtraction, not addition. We're taught from an early age that the mind is our greatest strength, that thinking harder is how we solve problems and create a better life. But what if relentless thinking is the trap itself? What if the mind, when overused, becomes the very force that keeps us stuck? Constant mental activity locks you into unease. It traps you in endless seeking and endless becoming. And the more you strive to improve, the more you quietly reinforce the belief that you're not enough right now. That is the hidden paradox at the heart of self-improvement culture. The desperate search for a higher vibration is often what keeps it far away. By seeking it frantically, you tell your nervous system that you don't have it. The very effort becomes the obstacle. The man I met wasn't trying to get anything from the world. He was simply being. And because of that, his energy felt open, expansive, and naturally magnetic. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on life. It means acting from a fundamentally different place, from presence rather than fear, from fullness rather than lack. Imagine you've spent your entire life climbing a mountain with a heavy backpack on your shoulders. You assume the answer is to become stronger so you can keep carrying it. But the real solution is to stop climbing for a moment and open the bag. When you do, you realize that most of what you've been carrying is optional. That backpack is filled with limiting beliefs, old pain, ego identification, and the stories of who you think you are. The path of unbecoming is the process of emptying it, one piece at a time, not replacing one false identity with a more spiritual sounding one, not constructing a new mask, revealing the peaceful, authentic self that has always been underneath everything. That realization should bring deep relief. You don't have to build a masterpiece, you only have to uncover one. What you truly are doesn't need to be manufactured, only revealed. Meeting that man was not the end of my path. It was the true beginning. It gave me a completely different map, one that pointed inward instead of outward. It showed me that real change doesn't come from forcing yourself. It comes from releasing resistance, from loosening your grip rather than tightening it. If you feel stuck right now, it may be because you're still trying to add more. More thinking, more effort, more control, more self-correction. That path feels logical because our culture praises it constantly. But it is deeply counterintuitive to real transformation. This path asks for trust. It asks for surrender. My own shift happened quietly after years of anxiety and trying to fix myself with my mind. It wasn't a dramatic explosion or a sudden mystical event, but the effect it had on my outer life was impossible to deny. My friends noticed it first. They said I seemed different, calmer, lighter somehow. They could feel an energetic shift even if they couldn't explain it. When they asked what I was doing, my answer felt almost too simple. I had stopped fighting with my thoughts. Instead of trying to control them or force positivity, I began simply watching them pass, like clouds drifting across an unchanged sky. That is the core mechanism. You create space between the observer and the thought. And in that space, you begin to realize that a thought is not automatically true, nor does it require your obedience. To understand why this works, you have to understand what the mind is actually for. Its primary role is not truth, it is survival. It evolved to scan for danger, replay old threats, and predict future problems. When you're fully identified with that stream of thought, you live in a low-grade state of unconscious survival. That state is energetically contracted and dense. It drains your life force through chronic worry, fear, and anxiety. That is what low vibration really feels like in lived experience. A higher vibration is the natural result of being identified with fewer compulsive thoughts. It's not about forcing yourself to think positively. It's about the silence that appears when you stop believing every thought that enters your mind. That silence changes everything. Imagine your mind like a radio that's always on, playing old stories, warnings, opinions, and static. For years, you may have tried to argue with it or change the station by force. That struggle is exhausting. The practice of unbecoming is realizing that you are not the broadcast. You are the one listening. And once you realize that you no longer have to fight the signal, you can simply lower the volume. By observing instead of engaging, you take power away from the noise. Peace emerges on its own without you chasing it. You can see this principle clearly in flow states. An athlete in the zone isn't thinking through every movement. A musician lost in the instrument, a painter absorbed in the canvas. In those moments, the thinking mind steps aside. They become a channel instead of a controller. Something moves through them rather than being forced by them. You've experienced this too, even if you didn't name it. Maybe while hiking, dancing, or doing something you love, for a moment you forgot yourself. Those moments of self-forgetting are among the purest experiences of a high vibrational state. The path of unbecoming is about making that your baseline, not an occasional accident. Your inner state is also shaped by what you consume from the outside world. Many people are shocked by the clarity that returns when they step away from social media for a while. They realize how much external stimulation had been feeding internal noise, a subtle layer of anxiety so familiar they could barely detect it. Your environment either supports presence or pulls you back into contraction. Even after learning to observe thoughts, many people remain trapped in seeking, still chasing some future state of more peace, more certainty, more vibration, and seeking itself becomes the cage. The act of seeking tells your nervous system that something important is missing right now. That keeps your energy locked in the very state you're trying to escape. True abundance and genuine flow don't appear when you finally catch them. They appear when you stop chasing altogether, when you simply are. You've probably heard the phrase, "What you seek is seeking you." Its deeper meaning isn't about some external force delivering what you want. It means that peace, wholeness, and love are not somewhere outside waiting to be found. They are buried beneath the identity of the one who believes it must seek. That is the real revelation. There is the contracted self, made of roles, stories, and survival patterns. And there is the open self, the silent awareness beneath all of it. The contracted self thrives on problems. It needs something to chase and something to regret. The open self simply is. It doesn't need to become. It doesn't need to prove. This is where unbecoming goes even deeper, into the stories you carry about your life. Here is one of the most liberating truths you may ever hear. Life has no fixed meaning other than the meaning you assign to it. That's not nihilism. It's freedom. Events in themselves are neutral. They are data points. It is the meaning you attach to them that creates suffering or growth. The pain you carry is often less about what happened and more about the story you continue telling yourself about what it meant. Recontextualization means consciously choosing a more empowering narrative for the events that shaped you. It's not denial. It's extracting wisdom from your experiences instead of remaining trapped inside them. Consider someone who's spent years holding on to the story of having a controlling mother. In the old narrative, she is the villain, and they are the wounded victim. But then something shifts. They begin to ask a different question. What if that very friction forced them to develop inner strength and sovereignty? What if she was, without knowing it, a catalyst for their growth? In that new interpretation, the past events don't change, but the energetic charge attached to them does. Resentment softens, clarity enters. The villain becomes a catalyst. This is what it means to unbecome, releasing the rigid stories that keep your old self in place and reclaiming the power to decide what your life means. But this mental reframing is only one layer. The deeper layer lives in the body. Every story you carry has a physical signature, contraction, heaviness, and tension stored within the nervous system. Consider a simple example. Someone asks you for a big favor you genuinely don't have the energy for. Immediately, the old pattern activates. Pressure to say yes, anxious stories about disappointing them, fear of rejection. The new practice is different. Instead of getting lost in those thoughts, You pause and bring attention into the body. You notice the tightness in the chest, the knot in the stomach. That sensation is the raw emotion you've been avoiding. Fear of abandonment, fear of not being loved. The practice is not to force it away. It's to allow it, breathe into it, and stay present with it. When you stop resisting and simply feel it, the energy begins to move. The emotional charge dissolves on its own, and in its place comes grounded clarity. The ability to say, I can't this time, but thank you for asking, from a place of self-respect rather than fear. That is a radically different way of living. Each time you respond from presence instead of an old program, you dissolve a layer of the contracted self. And when you do that consistently, your outer life begins to reorganize around the change that has happened within. Some relationships built on your old compliance may fall away. That is not failure, it is purification. It creates space for connections that honor who you actually are. This whole process unfolds through 3 layers. The first is becoming the watcher of the mind, resting as the awareness that observes thoughts rather than being pulled into them. The second is emotional integration through the body, allowing sensation to move without suppressing or analyzing it. The third is heart coherence, shifting attention from the noise of the head into the deeper intelligence of the chest, where intuition and calm arise naturally. When you breathe into the heart and listen from that space, the nervous system settles. Mind, body, and emotion begin to align. A different kind of clarity becomes available, one that doesn't come from thinking, but from being. Think of your true nature like a cork that naturally wants to rise in water. Your thoughts, your stories, your unfelt emotions, and your resistance are the weights holding it down. You don't have to force yourself upward. You simply have to cut the ropes. As each weight falls away, you rise naturally. Your vibration increases not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped suppressing it. This is the path of subtraction, a gentle undoing of everything that is not truly you. So as a first step, ask yourself what you are now ready to release. What story, belief, identity, or wound are you willing to unbecome? Name it, even in a single sentence, because naming it is already the beginning of letting it go. And remember, unbecoming is not the end of your journey. It is where it truly starts.